Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen,
za kilka minut
in a few minutes I will commemorate the National Day of the victims of German Nazi concentration camps. Please switch off your mobile phones.
hymn Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej.
The anthem of the national anthem of the Republic of Poland.
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen,
pozwólcie, iż w tej szczególnej
let me, in this very special moment, in the 82nd
Polaków do KL
anniversary of the Polish transport to the
powitam obecnych
Auschwitz concentration camp, I will
były więźniarki i
welcome former
innych obozów.
prisoners of Auschwitz-Birkenau and
Cyrankiewicz,
other concentration camps. Irena Cyrankiewicz, Barbara Doniecka,
panią Barbarę Gautier,
Barbara Gautier,
panią Irenę Jaszczuk,
Irena Jaszczuk,
panią Lidię Maksymowicz,
Lidia Maksymowicz,
panią Elżbietę Podbielską,
Elżbieta Podbielska,
panią Józefę Posz,
Józefa Posz,
panią Zdzisławę Włodarczyk,
Zdzisława Włodarczyk,
panią Janinę Zielińską,
Janina Zielińska,
panią Janinę Ziemnik,
Janina Ziemnik,
pana Bogdana Bartnikowskiego,
Bogdan
pana
Bartnikowski,
Jerzego Kuligowskiego,
Jerzy Kuligowski,
pana Władysława Osika
Władysław Osik,
oraz pana Grzegorza
And-
Tomaszewskiego.
Grzegorz Tomaszewski.
Witam przedstawicieli prezydenta
I'd like to welcome representatives of the President of the Republic of Poland, representative of state and local authorities, representatives of Peace Corps, of religious communities and the religious representatives of the Roma community, representatives of the state institutions, organizations and foundations, as well as all other participants for whom the remembrance of the victims of the terror and hatred is precious.
Proszę o zabranie głosu dyrektora
Now
muzeum.
let me give the floor to Dr. Piotr Cewiński, director of the State Museum.
Szanowni i drodzy,
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, at the beginning let me read the letter
pani marszałek Sejmu
said by the Speaker of the Polish Parliament, Elżbieta Witek. Ladies and gentlemen,
obchody Narodowego Dnia
celebrations of the National Day of Remembrance of victims of German Nazi concentration camps and extermination camps in a special way make us reflect upon the past and contemporary times.
82 lata
82 years ago, the first transport of the Polish citizens was brought to Auschwitz concentration camp.
14 czerwca
On the 14th of June 1940,
ruszyła bezduszna
this
nazistowska machina zagłady.
cruel Nazi extermination machine started. They wanted to conquer the world. They killed millions of humans, and they stamped upon dignity, and they degraded hope. The concentration camp in Auschwitz became the place where the Jewish nation and Roma nations and many other nationalities were to die.
Wykraczający poza granicę pojmowania
The cruelty go beyond the
o zachowanie
borders of cruelty. And today,
gdy za naszą wschodnią
when
granicą
behind the eastern border there is a cruel war ongoing, when hatred takes a lot of fruit. A lot of us doubt whether humankind learned the lesson from the past. I trust that the celebrations of the National Day of remembering the victims of the German Nazi concentration camps will become the voice which will be heard all over the world. We should be united by dignity, by tolerance, and respect for other people. Now we pay tribute to the victims of the extermination and concentration camps, and I send my best regards to the former victims of the concentration camp. Elżbieta Witek.
List również wystosował
A letter has also been sent by Deputy Prime Minister,
profesor doktor habilitowany
Minister of Culture and National Heritage, Professor Gliński,
więźniowie,
distinguished former inmates, distinguished members, families, ladies and gentlemen.
2 lata temu
82 years ago, on the 14th of June 1940,
do miejscowości Oświęcim przybył pierwszy transport
the first transport arrived in Oświęcim of 728 men from the prison in Tarnów, and we see this date as the beginning of the functioning of the KL Auschwitz camp. The inmates included Poles accused of anti-German activities or being considered potentially dangerous to the Third Reich, including members of the resistance movement arrested during so-called pacification AB action, political activists, social activists, and representatives of intelligentsia, persons stopped when they tried to cross the border, secondary school pupils, Catholic clergymen, and group of Jews, young people, 30+% were less than 40 years of age, and another group, a big group, were less than 20 years of age. Jerzy Bielecki, 243 number in the camp, said, under the pretense of forming ranks, they spread hit and blows. These were mixed with the moaning of the tortured ones, and they got under the terrible shoes. The blood mixed with sweat left stains on the clothes. It only just started, and some of them could not stand hunger, no water. As a result of that, people who used to be young were at the verge of physical capacity. End of quote. And then the absurdity of the activities were then explained by Primo Levi, is this man, and referred to that as taking away hope and taking away the will to survive in that precise mechanism of extermination of Nazi Germany, which was intended to eliminate the most patriotic members of Polish society, which only then was supplemented with the terrible mechanism of annihilation to finally resolve the Jewish question. We pay the highest tribute to all victims of KL Auschwitz, Birkenau, the former inmates present here, witnesses to the history, their families, and those closest and nearest to them, for this historic effort to commemorate that opening of the Auschwitz, being also the National Day of commemoration of victims. I wish to thank all the organizers of the commemoration, local government bodies, church and religious organizations, non-governmental organizations, community organizations, those who are engaged in that, and everyone who comes to this place of commemoration to pay tribute to the victims. I wish to thank the curator of the place, the museum, which has continuously been working to commemorate the atrocities of the times. These also include members of their families. The museum is commemorating 75 years of its activity, strong efforts to preserve this painful heritage, signed by Piotr Gliński. Ladies and gentlemen,
the
first transport
wyruszył z Tarnowa.
Set off from Tarnów. 729 prisoners. One person escaped from that transport. Accounts are known how the person was running towards the forest. Shots were fired. We have no further information about the fate of that person. 728 reached Auschwitz.
Przejeżdżali przez Kraków.
They were coming through Kraków. In Kraków at the railway station, the train stopped for a while. Some managed to get some water to drink. When all of a sudden, from the loudspeakers, information was spread that Paris had surrendered. Amongst many Germans present, they were overwhelmed with joy, and the spirit of the prisoners was reflected in their accounts. Many of them were caught because they were running away through the border to join the reconstructed Polish army in France. They did not know where they were going. They were wondering whether the train would head for Warsaw or maybe Silesia. In this other direction, they linked that with some hope for work, might be slavery work, but still work. And at that tragic moment, they heard the information that Paris had surrendered. Ladies and gentlemen, we are standing here with people who have lived most of their lives, or nearly all of their lives, under the motto of never again, and we see what is happening, as the speaker mentioned, what is going on over our border in Ukraine. Half a year ago, we all thought the war to a scale like that in Europe is something unthinkable. Tens of thousands or more civilians who are victims. 82 years ago, Paris fell. Kiev is still holding on. May this anniversary make us realize the deep links of the lessons from the past. Tragic past, which after the war, however, was the foundation of the post-war areas in which we managed to live without a war.
Dziękując wam, drodzy, za tak liczną obecność.
Wishing to thank you for this numerous presence here.
W imieniu całego muzeum
On behalf of the whole of the museum, all of the staff,
oddać hołd tym wszystkim,
pay tribute to all of those who perished here, who were tortured here,
ale też mieć na myśli tych
but
wszystkich,
also wish to have in mind all of those who, after the war, made all sorts of efforts and using all sorts of methods to save peace, even in the most difficult communist times.
potrafili pokój.
May we be able to appreciate peace. Thank you.
Składam szczególne
I
podziękowania
wish to
ocalałym.
express most
Byłym
special
więźniom KL
thanks
Auschwitz
to
oraz
the
innych obozów za
survivors,
przeżycie i obecność
former
podczas tego
inmates
roku
of KL Auschwitz,
obchodów. and
and your presence here during the
Narodowania Pamięci
commemoration
niemieckich,
today,
nazistowskich obozów
the
koncentracyjnych i
National
obozów
Day
zagłady.
of commemoration of
Za chwilę w
victims
autentycznej,
of
historycznej
death
przestrzeni
camps.
dziedzińca
Now
11 oddamy hołd ofiarom.
we'll pay tribute to the victims. May the flowers and the candles that will placed by the death of wall symbolize our memory of the victims of KL Auschwitz.
Wspólne złożenie kwiatów oraz zniczy proszę ocalonych.
I would like to request the survivors, former inmates of KL Auschwitz and the management of the museum, KL Auschwitz Museum, to lay the flowers and lit candles.
On behalf of the President of the Republic of Poland, Andrzej Duda, the flowers will be laid by Agnieszka Lenartowicz-Łysik, an advisor to the President.
W imieniu
On
prezesa
behalf of the Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, flowers will be laid by Ryszard Pagacz, the Deputy Governor of Małopolskie Region.
Proszę przedstawicieli korpusu dyplomatycznego.
Representatives of the diplomatic corps.
Diplomatic Corps. Zapraszam ordynariusza diecezji bielsko-żywieckiej,
Bishop of Bielsko-Żywieckie province, Father Pinland, and other representatives of religious communities and other churches.
w imieniu marszałka województwa małopolskiego
On behalf of the Marshal of Małopolskie Province, Mr. Witold Kozłowski, and the management of Małopolskie Province, Jakub Powroźnik and Paweł Plinta.
Zapraszam starostę powiatu oświęcimskiego, pana Andrzeja.
Starost of Oświęcimski powiat, Mr. Skripiński.
Do złożenia kwiatów zapraszam zastępcę prezydenta miasta.
Deputy Mayor of the City of Oświęcim, Mr. Krzysztof Kania. Please lay the flowers.
Do złożenia kwiatów zapraszam wójta gminy Oświęcim, pana
The
Mirosława.
head of Oświęcim County, Mr. Smolarek. Please lay the flowers.
O złożenie kwiatów proszę pana Pawła Szczygiela.
Mr. Paweł Szczygieł, head of the Regional Directorate of State Flowers, Mr. Głodowski, President of the Association of St. Albert, and Father Bielas, Vice President of the Management Board of this association.
Zapraszam pana Romana Kwiatkowskiego.
Mr. Roman Kwiatkowski, member of the museum board, and we also have representatives of the State Museum, Waldemar Łoziński, on behalf of a member of the museum, Ms. Beata Szydło.
O złożenie kwiatów i zniczy proszę delegację
Flowers and candles will be laid by the co-organizers of this commemoration day.
Zapraszam pracowników muzeum,
Employees of the museum, all other delegations and persons present here, please lay down the flowers and light the candles.
Szanowni Państwo, obchody Narodowego Dnia Pamięci
Gentlemen, commemoration of the International Day to commemorate the victims of concentration and death camps are coming to a close. I wish to thank the survivors for their presence. I wish to thank the representatives of authorities, religious communities, and I thank you all for being present and for commemorating the victims. Next item of the meeting will be held within the premises of the School of Higher Education, named after Captain Rotmistrz Pilecki.